1793, King Louis XVI was riding in a cart toward the guillotine. Facing the end of his monarchy and his life, he reportedly turned to his guards and asked, "Is there any news of Lapérouse?" He was asking about Jean-François de Gallup, Comte de Lapérouse, a naval officer who had led a massive global expedition in 1785 and simply vanished into the Pacific. He remains France's greatest maritime mystery. But years before he disappeared off the map, Lapérouse was entangled in a different kind of conflict at home. He was a man caught inside the rigid hierarchies of the French aristocratic machine. His struggle was over permission. In an era of absolute monarchy, power operated in the most intimate spaces, deciding who was allowed to love, who was allowed to marry, and whose feelings actually counted. To understand this world, you have to see Versailles not as a home, but as a marketplace of status. As a rising nobleman and officer, Lapérouse was expected to navigate a complex network of patronage and class expectations. For the elite, marriage was dynastic and professional. Lapérouse initially followed this logic, agreeing to an arranged alliance with Mademoiselle de Vésillon, a woman he had never seen, because it satisfied the requirements of his family and his career. This was status logic. In this system, human value flows exclusively from the top of the pyramid downward. Legitimacy was a currency composed of rank, property, and official approval. The disruption to this logic was Éléonore Brudeau. She was a Creole woman with no rank and no fortune. In the eyes of the French establishment, she lacked the specific currencies required to be recognized as worthy. By choosing Éléonore, Lapérouse wasn't just making a romantic choice. He was challenging the official hierarchy of value. He was asserting that an individual's word and feeling could outweigh institutional advantage. When Lapérouse declared his intent to marry Éléonore, the establishment reacted with a coordinated defense. His father, his naval superiors, and the broader social circle all moved to block the union. The system did not need to be evil to crush his dissent. Institutional power often works by reframing personal conviction as a failure of judgment. His father's letters used the language of the marriage market. He didn't say the match was immoral, he said it was imprudent. He warned of career ruin and ministerial displeasure. They framed Lapérouse's affection as a dangerous, childish fantasy. While the system used the weight of its social machinery, Éléonore relied on what could be called moral gravity. She did not scheme or bargain. She simply remained the person to whom Lapérouse had given his word. This is how elite power maintains itself. It justifies the status quo by disguising social domination as practical, common-sense prudence. Lapérouse eventually reached a psychological breaking point. He described a sense of remorse so deep it became a moral crisis. He realized that by obeying the social structure, he was violating his own inner law. He shifted from being a compliant careerist to a man answerable to his own conscience. He decided he would no longer let external power define the moral meaning of his life. But he didn't attempt to burn the system down. Instead, he recognized that formal power is often governed by informal channels. He knew that behind every official decree sat a human being, influenced by a social network. Rather than confronting the Minister of Marine directly, he wrote to the minister's wife, Madame la Marquise de Castries. He used his knowledge of human nature to tell his story in a register that favored sympathy over abstract regulation. The intervention worked. It demonstrated that institutions are not just governed by law, they are governed by access, mood, and the ability to navigate the human structure surrounding the office. By reading the network correctly, Lapérouse won. He successfully bypassed the family and institutional blocks to marry Éléonore. But this personal victory was immediately met by a geographic reality. Shortly after the marriage, he boarded the Boussole to lead the king's expedition. He won the woman he loved, but he would never live the life he fought to secure. His ships were wrecked on the reefs of Vanikoro. Lapérouse died on the island, while Éléonore waited in France until her death. The shipwreck prevents a simple sentimental victory. It shows that personal courage provides moral ownership, but cannot guarantee safety. Lapérouse defeated the man-made structures of power in one arena, only to be met by the indifferent forces of time and destiny in another. So where was the victory? It was in the reclamation of his agency. He refused to live a lie, even when the price of truth was his reputation and his security. Systems of status maintain control by forcing individuals to internalize their categories, to believe that if the hierarchy calls you unworthy, then you are. Lapérouse broke that cycle. His life demonstrates a central psychological reality. A person only finds their own strength when they are no longer willing to purchase belonging at the price of self-betrayal. True strength is not the ability to command others. It is the capacity to remain internally coherent while the crashing waves of the world try to force you into a different shape.